thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey guys, I'm Felissa Rose Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're listening to the All Bets Are Off with Robbie Vegas podcast.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rock star Robbie Vegas bringing you another episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast, and spooky season rolls on. Today we have Katherine Coghlan on the line, and I'm super excited to be bringing her to you today. She's done tons of TV and film, and of course a few horror movies, and that's why we are bringing her on for spooky season, the most famous of which is going to be Sleepaway Camp. And you know, we had Felissa Rose on the show already once before, so we're just adding all your favorite horror actors and actresses to this podcast, and I'm super excited to be bringing it to you. But before I do, I need you guys to know that today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Do you feel like you're stuck in a dinner rut? With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip all those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less with over 25 recipes to choose from each week. There's something for everyone to enjoy. All recipes are designed and tested by professionals, chefs, and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. I highly recommend you guys go check this out, check their website, just get a feel for the type of meals that they're putting out there for you. I checked it out. I think they're all fantastic, and I know that you guys will too. So go to the link in our show notes to get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit. All right, guys, so without further ado, let's get Katherine on the phone.
Everybody, this is Lauren Marie Taylor, creator and host of the Not the Final Girl podcast. Okay, so every horror fan remembers the final girl, right? You know, the one who can outrun and outsmart the Jasons, the Michaels, the Chuckies. I think you get it. But what about the girls and, yeah, the guys who met with an untimely end? Those of us who were tortured and tripped, dragged and killed. Don't we deserve some props? As Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Sheila in Girls Night Out, I know what a drag it is to succumb to those masked and wardrobe-challenged killers, to not be the final girl. On my new podcast, I'll be chatting with other women of horror who share the same fate. Special guests include those final girls as well as the writers and directors who created our characters, only to give us an early expiration date. And if they play nice, we'll let some of those crazed killers of horror tell their side of the story. So join me, Lauren Marie Taylor, on the Not the Final Girl podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the alerts when the episodes drop. Thanks for listening. Keep your doors locked and stay out of the woods.
Katherine, thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate your time. Thank you again.
My pleasure. So happy to be here and be chatting.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of Sleepaway Camp, and we've had Felissa Rose on the show, and so that was a fun experience. But now we're going to hear from Meg, and I need to know how old you were when you were filming Sleepaway Camp.
I was 17 or 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a long time ago, but yeah. Never leaves the memory.
What was the audition like for that?
The audition was first of all, I have to say Felissa Rose is a superstar beyond superstars. I love her. She's like my sister. She's the absolute best. So I am grateful forever for that friendship and meeting there. The audition initially was just improv. the director wanted me to improv a scene where I was an army sergeant or a drill sergeant and speaking as mean and loud and fast and harsh to the soldiers as I could. So having zero experience in that was interesting, but I was good at improv, so I kind of managed to pull that off. And then the second audition got some lines and dialogue and everything, kind of understood. Okay, now I see what's going on.
Did you know what you were getting into once you started filming? Because I know, Sleepaway Camp has one of the most shocking endings in all of horror. So was that something that you knew was coming when you were filming the movie?
No, not at all. It was, I knew who the killer was, but I didn't know the twist. So I had no idea till we finished filming pretty much. And, cause I wasn't involved I don't think we even got the last pages till we got up there. And yeah, so no, I didn't know. And it was an incredible twist. But I think that was good. I think it was good that I didn't know for a while. I honestly can't even remember when I found out. So, yeah, I think it helped me as an actor kind of not knowing.
I guess that was kind of where I was leading into it, that is, Did you find out when you were in the theater with everybody else watching it for the first time, and, did it kind of shock you, and you're looking around at, your friends and your family going, I didn't know?
No. I had found out by then. But I think still seeing it the way I did, I hadn't seen any of the special effects. So it was a shock. I mean, it was like, I had no idea that we were going to do something like that. I definitely think I knew the twist, somewhere in the middle of filming, but I didn't know it was going to look like that. That was just incredible. Mind blowing.
Now, what was your favorite part of actually filming Sleepaway Camp?
Oh, my favorite part, probably the camaraderie, because we were all teenagers. So it was great to be able to, be together and hang out and have that. But I would say for sure the lake scene where I get to throw Felissa into the lake. I'd never done anything like that, so that was really fun.
And she was a lot younger than you, right?
Oh yeah, she was I think 13 or 14. So, I was 17 or 18. I think I just turned 18. And so we were, we sort of had separate groups. Like I was very protective over her, but the other kids, like Jonathan, who played Ricky, and Paul, who they were all younger, 14, 15 years old. So I kind of hung more with the 17, 18, 19-year-olds who were the counselors.
Okay.
More. Because we could do things they couldn't do. So
yeah, of course.
In our little motel room. Yeah. So nothing bad, which is like 18, you could have a beer then. So, maybe something like that. But right. I don't really do I don't do anything bad when I'm working. I'm very good. I don't drink. I try to get enough sleep, but we were 18, so we wanted to have a little fun,
Well, yes, you were only 18, but were you one of the more seasoned actors on the show? Because you'd already been doing All My Children and Afternoon Playhouse, so you went into it already having probably more experience than I would imagine some of the other kids had.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was a contract player on All My Children, so ABC allowed me to do the movie only if they could pick me up and deliver me and bring me back to set when I had to film. So I was kind of going back and forth a lot. I think Mike Kellen was probably the most famous actor. Maybe I was right under him, but he was such a legend. I don't think the young kids knew who he was till later, but I knew. Because my parents told me, I was very work with him.
That's great. Now, did you find yourself, because you had more experience, were you kind of helping out some of the other actors who maybe it was their first film or they were just kind of uncomfortable? Did you have pointers for them, or did you just kind of keep to yourself and do your own thing?
Yeah, I think, unless an actor asks, I'm not going to do that. But certainly that's up to the director, But I don't recall anybody, I think everybody had some experience. I think Felissa and Jonathan didn't as much. I think it was Paul's first movie, but the director was doing such a good job. I would never do that as an actor unless someone asks for help,
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, was that your introduction to the horror genre, or were you already a fan?
Oh, no, that was definitely my introduction. What an introduction it was, yes. So, I had no idea, but it piqued my interest. It was great.
So
great introduction.
You became a fan then afterwards, I assume?
Absolutely. Yeah. I did another movie after that, and then another horror film after that, and then kind of drifted away because there were so many other things I wanted to do. So I sort of drifted away, and I didn't realize how impactful this movie was going to be till way later. And then now, of course, I'm looking to do more horror now, but I wanted to do other stuff, and I did, and nighttime TV and theater and sitcoms and stuff, and am very happily back into horror now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody really from people I've talked to really knew that it was going to grow into this massive movie that it is, and it kind of had a cult following and still does, but now it's more popular than ever, and it's starting to be more mainstream, where you're seeing t-shirts and everybody wants to get like the special edition Blu-rays and things like that, and actors such as Felissa and yourself are doing more and more appearances for Comic-Cons or horror conventions or things like that. So I mean, that's got to feel great that something you made in the early 80s is so prominent for you in 2021.
Oh, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, I had no idea what happened with this movie. And through Facebook, Felissa had contacted me maybe 10 years ago or 7 or 8 years ago. And we became friends on Facebook. But I really didn't pay too much attention to what she was doing. And she kept saying, you got to come out to one of these conventions. And I was like, who wants to see me from that movie? I don't get it. And finally, I came to when I did Spooky Empire in Florida, and when I got down there was a huge line for my table, and I'm like, what the heck has happened? Like, what did I miss raising 2 kids? And both my kids are actors too, so I was managing them and working, and I just didn't realize it, and was thrust back into the world, and so happy to be there and meet everybody and hear their stories. And I just had no idea what an incredible world the horror community is.
It really is insane. I meet some of the nicest people, and there's always so much going on. And I just did the Monster Mania Con in New Jersey, and
wow.
It was so good. And it's like a 6.5 hour drive for me, but it was so worth it. Once you get there and you see everyone and everything that's going on, it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, agreed. I love it. I can't wait to do conventions. I don't do as many as Felissa, just because I have, I kind of, my kids are acting, and they're older now, but I am going to start to do it more. I just love it. I miss it when I don't do it. I love talking to people and, catching up 30 years. What's going on with this movie?
Well, do you find yourself keeping up with the genre on your own and just watching, the new releases, or going back and watching 80s movies that maybe you didn't get to because you were busy having your own career back then, and just kind of keeping, your hand in horror that way?
Oh, totally. My daughter wasn't into horror as much, but then one of her first big roles as an actress was in the sort of anthology movie series called it's escaping my mind. Sorry. She played the Valentine's Day segment. It's escaping my mind right now.
It wasn't called Holidays, was it?
Holidays. Sorry. Yes,
okay.
Holidays.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of it? Oh my God.
I've seen that.
Yes, she was in the Valentine's Day segment. She was the girl who didn't speak. I don't want to give it away in case anybody is going to go see it, but
wow.
She was that girl who got bullied and then did bad things.
Yes.
That's Valentine's Day. Yeah, that's her. And then she started writing horror and did another Crypt TV Facebook Watch TV series called Mira Mira that just aired. And she was incredible in that. So she's gone full force into the horror world, and she's got a few things in development now, and then my son as well. So yeah. I forgot the question.
No, we were just talking about, you keeping up with the horror genre in general, and you watching it now. So, I was going to ask you if your children were also involved in acting, but since we're talking about it right now, obviously they saw you and wanted to follow in your footsteps. And was that something that you were, hesitant to let them do? Or were you like full force because you have such a handle on it and you've had such a long career that you were like, let's do it and I'm going to help you?
Absolutely. 100% full force. I understand when parents don't want their kids involved. I totally get their reasoning, but I knew that I could guide them very well and keep them safe because I knew this business inside and out. And exactly what happened. They got to pick and choose if they wanted to audition or didn't. Mm-hmm. They got to pick and choose which jobs they wanted to do or didn't. I never pressured them. I never said, you have to do this job. We weren't doing it for the money. I think where a lot of parents, and families fall into that trap is when that kid becomes the money earner for the family. Mm. I think that's sort of not always the healthiest relationship. Mm-hmm. It can be done. It's just not, you have to be very careful, certainly many have done it, but many haven't. And so I was able to watch and be careful with them and also let them pursue other passions. My son is an incredible basketball player and really wants to play college basketball, which he's doing now. So we've kind of cut back on some of his work and auditions. If he really wants, there's a limited time you can do that. So, and then my daughter got into writing as well, and she's still acting. She's on The Rookie, and she's, had this other series. And, but so she, it's more just making sure that none of those traps happened to them, and they didn't, thank God.
Now, how many years have each of them been actually acting?
Well, since they were 4 years old.
No
and
way.
They're 20. My son is 20, my daughter's 25. So they sort of started with me, just bringing them to an audition with me for a commercial. And, the casting person said, well, we actually need a kid for this. Can we throw them in the room with you? And we would book it. And then they kind of got a taste of it, and then that was it. They were off and running.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Crazy.
You're a whole
it was never my intention, but it just happened, and I saw they both had incredible talent. So, you can't beat them, join them.
I mean, that's got to be a wonderful feeling for you, and it must make you so proud.
Incredibly so. So proud. I think there's a lot of heartache too, but they've got such a grip on it and handle it so beautifully. And I'm always here to talk to and guide them and help, and that's number one.
Well, how old were you when you got your first real acting gig?
I started when I was 11 or 12, doing a lot of extra work in movies that came to New York. There was a lot filming those days. And then I'd say my first big break was probably All My Children. I was 15 when I auditioned, and then 16 when I started filming it. I'd done some small parts here and there, but that was my first big job. So
really, you've been in it from a very young age too. So if there is anybody who can coach them through it, it would be you, because you've been there.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. Yeah. My mind is blown right now. I love it.
Aww.
So you alluded earlier to that you did another horror movie after Sleepaway Camp, which was Silent Madness. And,
yes.
Going into that, having done Sleepaway Camp, were you more so prepared to, be in a movie like that because you already now have experience in the genre? And what was, the onset like for that movie as opposed to Sleepaway Camp?
Yeah, I was definitely ready for it and kind of understood how camera angles were. And the funny thing is, it was shot in 3D, but it didn't come out in 3D till just recently in the Blu-ray. We released it in Blu-ray. And so when we were filming it, that was sort of another added piece to the puzzle of they wanted our hand maybe to go out in a certain way or something. He would say, okay, something's going to fly out at the camera, so you just angle yourself this way. So that was a little more detail, which I liked. And I didn't really play the mean one in that movie, so that was kind of fun to do. To play a nicer person who maybe didn't get killed.
Right.
And then when they released it, like I said, they didn't release it in 3D, so it kind of went away pretty quick, but I think it's getting a little resurgence now, which is nice.
Yeah, it really is. And I did notice that it was now being released on Blu-ray and things like that. And that that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the horror conventions. It's like it breathes new life into so many movies that could have either been forgotten or were hits, but then kind of drifted off, or were cult classics, but now they're more mainstream. And it's just these horror fans just have such a craving for the genre. And the thing is that the measuring stick for horror movies are still 40 years ago. And those are the greatest movies in the world to me, are 80s, 70s, 60s, going even back to the 30s when Dracula came out. Like, that's the measuring stick. So you were in an era making these movies where, there was so many incredible movies coming out that some of them didn't get their due. And now it's cool to see that the conventions are allowing that to happen, and you're a part of that.
Yeah, it's thrilling, and I'm honored to be there and to meet everybody. There's not a person I've met that I didn't thoroughly enjoy talking to and love. And again, Felicia's taught me so much about it because she's just so good with everyone and the love they have for her. And then for me, it's just overwhelming. I just love it. I can't wait to get back. So it's been wonderful.
It's crazy, too, talking to Felicia because, she does do tons of cons, and everybody has the same perception of her. She's always looked at as, like, the nicest person in the room, such a sweetheart, treats all of her fans as if she knows them all, and, even from talking to you for the last, 10, 15 minutes, however long it's been, you have that, too.
Thank you. That's so nice. I think that's why she and I get along so well, too, because I don't think she was sure how I was. We hadn't really seen each other in 30 years. And then I've always just been like that anyway. I just love talking to people. If someone wants to compliment something I've done or talk about it, I've always been that way. And this was kind of permission to be this way and be like, okay, I can continue just being, I don't have to, I don't like to be snotty or not even snotty, but just elusive. That's not me. I engage. If someone DMs me or writes me, I'm going to answer them, and even though people will say, well, don't, I go, no, I want to, and so she's made that popular to be like that, and I love it. That's why we get along so well.
That's amazing. Now, since we're talking about cons, I do want to say I'm super glad that you beat COVID, because I know that we talked before and you had to deal with that. So, glad to hear that you made a full recovery and you're here to do this interview today.
Well, the joke is Felicia's still trying to kill me. We both got it, so we were like, yeah. At least we're COVID sisters together.
Oh my God! Of course you would both get it.
Yep. Of course.
Now, here's a fun question for you that I always ask people who do a lot of cons. Do you've had a long career and you've done a lot of TV shows and films and things like that. And do you ever get people at these horror conventions that will bring you something from like All My Children or any of the other like shows that you've been on to sign instead of just Sleepaway Camp?
Not yet. I've gotten Silent Madness, but I haven't gotten anything else yet. I do have one of my photos that are on my table of me and Jamie Lee Curtis, because we did a Activia commercial about 7 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
And it was before I had started cons or knew. I hadn't even thought about Sleepaway Camp, so I didn't put two and two together how kind of iconic that was, that she and I were playing best friends in this commercial. You can find it online, and it's a roller skating one where we skate together, and we spent 12 hours together and really got close that day. And she was so lovely. And only later, when I started doing conventions, did my manager say, "Oh, we need to have this photo up. This is iconic." And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween, and then that seems to be one that people love to have. They're like, "Wow, what?" They don't realize. So, yeah.
That's cool. I had no idea. I'm going to have to YouTube that. I want to see that.
Yeah. Look it up. It's good.
So was Silent Madness your last horror film until you did The Occupants in 2014?
Yes, it was. It was, because I kind of ran from them a little bit, because I thought if I continue doing them, because I did have offers to do others, I thought then that's what I'm going to do. And that's why I left the soaps, because there was so much more I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up coming back to the soaps years later, doing General Hospital and The Young and the Restless out here. So I think it was good that I kind of got to do other things. And that way now I'm at a point where I can go back and do horror and still do other things, because people will say, know that I'm multifaceted. I can do anything. So I think I established that and proved that. And it was important for me to do that at the time.
So it was more of a, conscious decision to stray from it so that you weren't like typecast into only doing horror movies, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was just, at that time, you were typecast so often. Now I don't think it happens as much, but then it really did. And I knew that if I did one more, then that's what I was going to do. And not that I didn't love them, but there were so many other things I wanted to try.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. It's, same thing for like, me being a musician, I didn't want to just stick with playing metal music. I wanted to show people that I can play acoustic music too. So I strayed from it for a while. Didn't mean I liked it any less. It was just proving grounds,
Right, exactly. Oh, I want to hear your music.
I will send you some.
Awesome. I'd love it. Fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you wanting to hear it. So, as soon as we're done here, I'll gather some stuff up and I'll let you hear it.
Awesome.
Staying on the topic of The Occupants, so that was 30 years after you did Silent Madness. So yes. How much did things change on the set from that horror movie, 30 years prior? And what was it like now playing like the motherly role?
Yeah, it was very different, because I was in a lot of prosthetics makeup. I was playing that I was dead. And I was coming back to life. So it was very different. A lot harder because we did all night shoots in this house in Malibu, and then had a lot of that makeup on. So it was exhausting and hard, and I had to get killed with an axe, and we had to film that, and it was much harder, much harder. I think it's just my age.
Well, how did the effects change from that period of time? Because on Sleepaway Camp and, things like that in the 80s, practical effects were the way to go. I still think they're the way to go. But when you did The the Occupants and there was any kind of effects, were they still practical effects, or was there more like computer stuff involved, or what was happening there?
Yeah, I think there were. I mean, we did a lot of the stuff, though. We'd have to do some of it, though, like when he has to bend me over a chair and then kill me with an axe in the head. It was just very technical and complicated. And so I think there were a lot of special effects, but you still had to do a lot of the stuff, to lead up to that special effect. So if there was a moment where I kind of pop out, we had to do that over and over, and the timing had to be right. So it definitely was more technical and everything. But yeah. It was a little harder. I think maybe because I'm older. So.
Oh, stop it. Now, I'm just curious on this one is, do you find yourself enjoying horror more, like, say, now, as in, like, 2021, than you ever have in your life? Or were you just kind of, like, a lifelong fan anyways, even while you were doing the other stuff?
No, I wasn't. Now I'm even more so because of the world that I've seen with all the conventions. I've now become a huge fan, and I'm so proud to be part of it. Whereas before, I didn't know this world existed. And I just was an actress doing a movie, but now I am vested. I am 100% invested in this world and this genre, and just think it's so powerful and magical. So it really is something new to me, discovering.
So... now that you're, such a huge fan and such a big part of it, do you have a few movies that are some of your favorites that you could tell us?
Oh, well, definitely Holidays,
Yeah.
which well, I will never forget the title again. And of course, my daughter shows Mirror Mirror. I'm trying to think of what other ones I really... The ones my son loved were the ones where... what's it called? Where, like, something happens, it's like a premonition, and then it's going to happen to them. There's like 7 or 8 of those movies. I'm sorry, I have COVID brain right now. I cannot remember a lot of stuff, but...
That's okay. The title that came to my mind was Prophecy, but...
No. I'm going to try to look it up, but... yeah, it's where something happens, and, like, I think one of them, like, there's a plane crashes, and they didn't get on the plane, and then...
Final Destination.
Yes, Final Destination movies. Yay! Thank you, Robbie. All the Final Destination movies I watched with my son. He was a horror fan from the time he was a little boy, which is so odd. Like, he wanted to watch everything. And so I had to watch a lot with him. And, yeah, he loves those. So I loved those with him. We watched all of those. And, of course, actually, I do love the It movies.
Oh, yeah.
I think the remakes are incredible. And, of course, I'm personally vested because I know someone in it and their family. We're very close. So... of course, I love them and the director, but I think through my son, I've watched a lot. But the Final Destination movies, I love those.
Yeah, those are really clever and super creative. Yeah. I have a lot of fun with those too.
Yeah.
But of course, I love the slashers, which is why Sleepaway Camp is one of my, my favorites, because it's one of those 80s slashers that you just can't help but love it.
I know. It's there. It's right up there. I'm so glad I finally came around and discovered how good it was.
Well, it's not supposed to be a comfort movie because it's a slasher, but it is a comfort movie for me.
Oh, I love that. I get very happy when I see it too.
See, you understand.
Yeah, 100%.
In your career, who or what have been some of your favorite roles that you've played, outside of, Sleepaway Camp and anything horror? What are some of your favorite characters or roles that you've had?
I think one of my favorite ones wasn't horror. It was the remake of Dragnet with Ed O'Neill. Mm-hmm. And I was a regular on that. I think I did like 9 episodes. And it was right after I'd had my son, a couple of years after I'd had my son. And it was just a whole nother style of acting. And he taught me so much. There's a lot of fast talking as when you're playing a detective on that show. And I would sometimes start to stumble over my words. And Ed said to me, smooth is fast. So I thought, wow, I'm learning from this master here. And I always remember that to this day. And it just was so great to work with him. And he's such an icon and phenomenal and so giving. And that was really special for me. And just a lot of the guest spots I've done on nighttime television. I got to work with Rob Lowe recently. And he was so, who wasn't in love with Rob Lowe, male or female, growing up? And he was so smart and so funny and so giving and so kind and so inclusive. That was a really special experience as well. So there have been definitely a lot of the nighttime television has been great great.
That's fantastic. And it's funny that, when you said Rob Lowe, the first thing I thought of was Wayne's World.
Oh, yeah, he's so funny. He's so funny.
That was my introduction to him as a kid, and I hated him. I hated him because he was trying to steal Wayne's girlfriend, and I was so mad.
That's awesome. Wow.
But yes,
well, he's a good guy.
Oh yeah, I could tell. He's fantastic, and he is one of my favorite actors now. But just as a kid, you get so invested in movies, and he played such a good douchebag.
Oh, totally.
So, do you have any upcoming projects or appearances that you can let us in on?
Yeah, I'm actually supposed to do a independent film in New York. I think in the spring. It possibly is a remake. It's not Sleepaway Camp of some other horror films, so I don't know how much I'm allowed to say right now, and then I'm supposed to do a short film in the next week or two, which is really cool, a little futuristic. So I'm kind of, waited. The last 18 months I didn't really work because of the pandemic and, respect to my family and stuff to kind of stay tight together. But I'm coming out swinging. I'm like, I gotta work. I miss it so much. So I'm back out auditioning, but those are two projects that I have kind of lined up right now. So
that's fantastic. Are there any cons that you know of just yet?
Yeah, I think we're supposed to go to Germany. Felissa, Jonathan, and I were supposed to go to Germany in November.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Very excited about that.
What is that called? It's it's not like that Hellfest or something, or
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. Yes. Yeah, so you're good. Wow. And then I have a couple booked for 2022 already, so I'm looking forward. They whenever they pop up, or when Felissa will say, "Hey, come with me," and then I'm there.
Oh, that's fantastic. And hopefully I will get to run into you at a con sometime, and we can maybe do a part 2.
Yes, come hang out with us. Come hang out and stay a while.
Absolutely. I definitely will. And if you see Lauren Marie Taylor from Friday the 13th part 2 while you're in Germany, tell her I said hello. She's a great friend. And,
fantastic. Okay, I
yes.
will for sure.
Before I let you go today, a couple more things. And the first one is, can you just plug your social media so that your fans know where to find you and follow you so they can see your upcoming projects? Whether it's, social media, websites, whatever you have, just plug it all right now. This is your time to put out whatever you want.
Oh, awesome. Okay. My Instagram is KCinLA7, and then my name will be under there, Katherine Coghlan. And my Facebook is Katherine Kamhi. And that's about it. I don't really do too much Twitter. And I might just start doing some TikToks with my son. We have a swimming St. Bernard who has an underbite who's just fierce. So we might incorporate a little bit of something going on in there. We're trying to figure it out right now. But those are the two. And, definitely if someone DMs me, I'll answer you. 100%.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate you.
Of course. I'm so glad. Thank you. It's so nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to hearing your music.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I got my hand in everything, so if you're following me on social media, you'll see me posting my wrestling matches and my music. And
no way! Oh
yeah.
My God, I'm so excited. I love multi-creative people like you. I just love it. There's just so much, Never just do one thing. Just do whatever you want.
Oh, for sure. I'm a professional wrestler, podcast host, musician, and I've been doing everything for so long, and now I'm just, just throwing everything out there for everybody. So,
wow.
Yeah. So,
well done.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this. I really am a big fan, so this was really cool for me.
Of course. I'm thrilled. Thank you so much for being patient, and so nice to talk to you, Robbie.
You too. All right, rockers. So once again, that was Katherine Coghlan. So glad to have her here. It was such a great interview. Super easy to talk to, very friendly, and a lot of experience. So really cool to hear that she's passing that on to her children. And I really do love the movie Holidays. So that was cool to hear that her daughter was in that. And I never knew that. So that's really interesting. So check that movie out. Check out Sleepaway Camp, Silent Madness. Check out The Occupants. Check out anything she's done. Check out her IMDb page, and it will give you a list. And she has been in a lot of things, so be prepared to have your work cut out for you if you're going to go check it out. So thank you guys for listening. Please make sure you're following us across the board on social media at ABAO Pod. And make sure for the spooky season you're downloading my EP on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you download your music, Google Play. Check it out, Angels and Demons by Robbie Vegas. And also check out our last sponsor of the day, which is Death Comes Lifting. So it's fitness for the misfits. You can join the Lifting Dead Army for their Patreon page, and you can go to deathcomeslifting.com for workouts, merchandise, all kinds of cool stuff, podcasts. So make sure you're supporting the people that support us who make this podcast possible, and we will see you next week.
preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.